I grew that account to about $1,200 in about a year and a half from the $500. About a year ago, I started to get pretty consistent, and I took that $3,000, $3,500 account, and I'm up to like $7,400 now. So
Oh,
I'm
nice.
averaging I'm averaging probably 8 to 12% a month, roughly. Money management is my biggest thing. I never really risk more than 1% on any single trade or a pack of trades. Clarity
Yeah.
is my biggest thing too. There's almost always something clear on one pair or another. I don't try to force anything. If I don't know what's going on, then I just leave it alone. There's almost always something clear one way or the other on some sort of pair. Once you get consistent, it really is quite exciting when you like open your computer and you're like, oh, that trade, did exactly what I thought it was going to do.
So how long have you been trading now?
I've been with your group for pretty much 4 years, but the stock market and trading has been interesting to me pretty much for my whole life. When I was younger, I grew up in the '80s, and I grew up with those movies like Trading Spaces and like the Rogue Trader, and then there's a few other movies, and it just always appealed to me to be your own boss and make your own hours and stuff like that. So when I was younger, I wrote a lot. I read a lot of books about like the right stock to choose and how to choose the right business to invest in, and it was more like investing, not really like day trading like what we do. And a lot of that stuff kind of confused me more than anything. A lot of people do research upon research on these businesses to try to figure out whether they want to invest in them, and it's
Oh,
not really
yeah.
what I'm looking to do. So I started off with baby pips, I think it is. It's a course. It's like a free course. I think it's called Baby Pips,
Yeah,
and
that's a good place to start, really.
that's really where I started before I started with you guys. And it kind of taught me the basics, like top become bottoms and bottoms become tops, and breakouts, fake outs, stuff like that. And it really didn't, have any consistency with it at that point. It's just kind of the basic stuff that everybody kind of learns.
Well, it's good because it gets you, it gets you used to what is a pip and what's trading, what's Forex
Yeah,
and all that stuff. Because it
yeah,
takes a while to figure out.
it does. Yeah, I mean, it's not something that you can really just jump into and succeed right away. It takes a while to really understand the whole process. But
I didn't realize it's been 4 years you've
yeah, I mean,
been training.
because of my job, I really don't have time to attend your webinars during the summer. So during the winter, I usually get laid off around December 15th, and then I go back to work around March 15th. So I'm a seasonal worker. So during the winter time, I'm on your sessions almost every day, London and New York. But during the summer
Oh,
hours, I really don't have time to attend it. So that's probably why it kind of seems like I'm not there, most of the time.
oh,
I traded on demo for about a year and a half when I first joined your group, and I've been through all your content, multiple times, and that stuff is extremely useful for people that take advantage of it. And I traded demo for like a year and a half, and then I started off with a $500 account, and I kind of played with that a little bit. I hear you talk a lot about how people, blow up 2 or 3 accounts before they kind of learn the process, and I kind of happy with myself because I'd never actually blown up an account. I never actually zeroed out an account. So
from the
for
very
me,
beginning,
it's kind of good, I guess.
you've maintained that original account.
Yeah, I'm still working that original account that I started from the beginning. But like I said, I traded demo for over a year and a half, and I did a lot of back testing, like hours upon hours of back testing, just looking at previous data and just going over it. And I grew that account to about $1,200 in about a year and a half from the $500. So I was getting confident at that point. So when I got my tax return 1 year, I threw $3,000 into my account. So it brought me up to right around $4,500. And then the psychological issue became a problem for me at that point, because instead of risking like $20, $30, I was risking like 50, 60, 70, $80. And that's when I started to, really realize that there's a lot more to trading than just knowing where the market's going. It's psychological issues that come with it. And
Oh, you had to do some work on that.
yeah, because when I had a $4,500 account, after adding that $3,000, it like threw me into a losing streak. All of a sudden I was just scared of getting into early, scared of holding my position. There's just all the normal fears that come along with it. So within like 6 months, I took that $4,500 account and I was down to like 3,000. I lost like $1,500 just because of the fears that I speak of.
That's not
You know,
that bad. I
it's
mean,
not that bad, no. And then I don't know, about a year ago, Paul was doing those Asian sessions last fall, and he
yeah,
had really small groups, and I was able to ask him a lot of questions about how he handles his trades, because I feel like after a while I started to kind of know the patterns and know what I was doing and kind of know where the market was going, but I still wasn't able to make any money because I was either not getting in at all, or I was getting in too late, or I was letting my losses run and let my profits cut loose, all the normal things. So I was able to, ask Paul a lot of questions, because some days he only had, 3 or 4 people in his group. So I kind of asked
yeah,
him a lot of questions
that
about
was nice.
how to handle his trades. So I kind of have to give him some credit, because he did kind of help me out a lot when it comes to that. So about a year ago, I started to get pretty consistent, and I took that $3,000, $3,500 account, and I'm up to like $7,400 now. So
Oh,
I'm
nice.
averaging I'm averaging probably 8 to 12% a month, roughly, and
Uh,
that's
so that
seems
was
pretty good.
over a period of about a year that you were
Yeah,
taking from 3,000 to 7,400.
yeah. It was a little over 3,000. It was probably like 3,400, 3,500, and now
So
I got it
it's
up
more
to,
than 100%,
yeah, in a
doubling
year.
it.
When you hear about like people I work with, a lot of the people I work with, they talk about how they have like investors and stuff that deal with their money for them, and they talk about how 10% a year is really good. So
Yeah,
I kind of keep my mouth shut at work when I think about the fact that I made like 100% in a year, 120% in a year, because a
yeah,
lot of
and
people
you
probably wouldn't even believe it, if
not
they put.
really risking um, anything unreasonable.
Yeah. Now, for me, I know a lot of the people in the group may not do this quite as much as I do, but money management is my biggest thing. I never really risk more than 1% on any single trade or a pack of trades.
Really?
I'm not looking to make more than, my goal is like 3% a month. I mean, 3% a week. I mean, and I'm only looking to really get in 2 or 3 trades a week. If you risk 1%, you get like 1.5 back, and you only trade maybe 2 or 3 times a week. That's 3 to 4.5% a week. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but if 3% a week and then times that by 4, you're talking 12% a month, which is pretty good, I feel like.
Yeah,
So that could be sustainable. If the whole thing is, for me, my overall goal is, it's kind of risky, but my girlfriend that I've been with for like 10 years is behind me on the whole thing. But I'm a part of a union, and I've been a union painter for like 10 years now, and I have an annuity and a pension worked up.
oh yeah,
And if I could prove to myself over the next year or so that I can average 10 to 12% a month, then I'm going to cash out my annuity and cash out my pension, throw it all right into my trading account, and I'm either going to sink or swim. I mean, I got to make it, or I'm not going to make it. So,
well, that's like you're getting 100% a year, and yet you're very conservative on your
yeah,
risk. You're not
I'm
doing
extremely
anything
conservative with my
crazy.
trading. Yeah. And
Because
clarity
yeah,
is my biggest thing too. There's almost always something clear on one pair or another. I don't try to force anything. If I don't know what's going on, then I just leave it alone. There's almost always something clear one way or the other on some sort of pair. A lot of times people try to force, be like, oh, this is gonna be a C wave or a three, or something like that. And if I can't tell what's gonna happen, I don't really even bother, trying to enter.
that's a pretty
So
good strategy. I mean, yeah, sounds like you got it down.
yeah, I mean,
That's
there's
right.
like I said, on some time frame or some pair, there's always something clear. You know, there's, you don't really have to try to trade something that you don't really know what's going on. It's been pretty fun for me. Like I said, I've heard a lot of you guys talk about how trading's fun and stuff, but when you first start off, you're so nervous and you get all the anxiety and stuff like that. From it. But once you get consistent, it really is quite exciting when you like open your computer and you're like, oh, that trade, did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It is very exciting.
Yeah, it is. And now you don't have the problems with the bigger account.
Yeah, yeah. Now, like I said, my goal with that whole cashing out my annuity and my pension, my whole goal is to put 80 to $100,000 in my account. And the thing I'm concerned about is when I went from a $1,200 account to like a $4,500 account, I had all these fears about trading with more money. So if I go from a $10,000 account to like an $80,000 account, I'm afraid that I'm gonna have all these fears that are gonna prevent me from doing what I do now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
so that's something I gotta overcome, I guess.
if you uh, as a professional trader, if you find people in your local area who do NLP and
Yeah,
hypnotherapy and stuff, it's well worth it to go there and just get some sessions and tell them, I'm a concerned that I may have too much fear or whatever. They'll
right,
get to the
right.
bottom of it with you.
Yeah, yeah. And like I've heard David and some of your other traders in your group say, I can sometimes know exactly where the market's going, but my fears prevent me from making any money because of the things that we all do, like getting too late, whatever, not getting it all, or let you. One of my biggest things was letting my profits cut loose, too early, and then my losses, I'd let them run because I'm like, oh, I know I'm right about this trade. It's going to go in my direction, so I just let it keep going negative and negative and negative, and then eventually I cut it loose. But like I said, the money management is probably one of the biggest advantages for me. If I don't I don't ever really risk more than 1% on a trade. So if I if that's my rule, then if it goes against me, then 1% I'm done. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I know I'm right about this trade, so I'm just gonna let it go a little extra, against me. But I try not to.
You
Try
control
not to.
that with, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
you're letting it go negative, but you're still controlling the 1% with a stop loss.
yeah, exactly. And then another thing that I realized, especially talking to Paul last year, in the Asian sessions that he was doing, was you got to give the market some room. A lot of times we know it's in a correction and we don't pinpoint the exact location of the end of the correction. Sometimes like it'll go up for like a 5 of C or something. And for me, I would have my stop losses so tight that it would go up, it would take me out, and then it would go instantly in the direction I thought it was going to go in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So giving the market some room is a big help. If if the most recent swing high is like 20 pips away, I'll put in like a 75 pip stop loss just to give the market some room. Because I can't count how many times I've been right about a trade, but I got stopped out because my stop loss was too close. So it's stuff like that. I know Damien and Paul both talk about letting the trades, giving the trades plenty of room. You don't want to put your stop losses too tight. And for me, within the first couple 2 or 3 years, I feel like I kind of got the the ability to read the market pretty good, but for me, the ability to manage my trades and to stay out of my own head was the problem after a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. And but your background is you're like a commercial painter.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I've worked for the union for about 12 years. I paint bridges mostly and water tanks. You know, those big water tanks you see sometimes
Oh
and like
yeah,
stuff. You know, I we build a containment and we sandblast and paint them.
you have to
So
go way up on
yeah, yeah,
scaffolding.
yeah. Sometimes we're pretty high up, you know. I'm not afraid of heights or anything, so it doesn't bother me, but it's kind of good because a lot of people are afraid of heights, so it's kind of job security for me because it doesn't really bother me. But for
Because
me,
it seems like you kind of understand reading the market for whatever reason. It just seems kind of natural to you after you got going.
yeah, I mean, it did definitely take a while. It took a lot of demo work. You know, I had to trade on the demo for a lot of time and lots of back testing and like I said, for me, the most important thing is clarity and following the roadmap. You know, I have like a little note sometimes next to my computer that says, you know, like make sure you're following the roadmap, don't force the trade, you know, stuff like that, you know. So, you know,
Man,
following the roadmap is extremely important, you know, especially of the higher time frames. You can if you pay attention to the higher time frames and follow the roadmap like you teach, it's a big help. You know, you don't need to know exactly what the smaller time frames are doing, but you can, as long as you kind of understand the roadmap at the longer time frames, you're pretty much all set. You know, as long as you get in the direction of the longer trend, even if you don't get in at the exact right time, normally you'll be okay with your trade as long as you give the
yeah,
market to them.
yeah. It
But
seems like you have to kind of put in at least 30 minutes or an hour to just go through all the pairs and all the time frames. And if you do that, then the problem is sometimes you just don't have time to do that. You just go right to the
yeah, to
one
sort of,
hour or whatever.
yeah, and like, and I I'm busy a lot during the day, so I usually check my charts around 4:30 in the morning my time, and then I check them again at like 7, 8 p.m. my time. And really, it kind of, in a way, it kind of helps me a little bit because every little pullback, it doesn't scare me, you know, out of the trade. You know, I'm at
Yeah,
work, so I don't see the pullbacks, and in a way, it kind of helps. I feel like not looking at your charts all day, you know, looking at every impulse of the market, thinking, oh, is it turning? You know, what's going on? I kind of stick to the longer time frames a little bit too. I mean, the 4 to 8 hour is kind of my preferred time frames. And like I said, I'm only looking for 2 or 3 trades a week. So the 4 to 8 hour for me is kind of just right because I can be at work and if I'm looking at a trend on the 4 hour, you know, an 8 hour workday is only two bars, you know, that I missed.
oh yeah,
So like if I'm looking at the hourly chart and I'm at work all day, you know, I missed, you know, 8, 9 bars, you know, a lot could happen at that point. So the 4 to 8 hour, you know, 12 hour, you know, is kind of where I stick to a little bit. I seem to do better when I don't focus on the 1 hour for some reason. But also that could be a little bit of a disadvantage too, because a couple weeks ago when the news came out, I was looking at like the 8 hour and I'm like, oh, that's gonna start a correction. And then if I had been looking at the 1 hour, I would have seen that on the 1 hour it had already made like a little ABC to the wave three, you know, on the 1 hour. But on the 8 hour and 12 hour, you don't really see that.
hmm.
So it's kind of disadvantages to it too, I feel like, you know, it can, you kind of
Yeah,
got to look at all time frames, really. I mean, to know what's going on, I guess.
kind of a an ideal balance you got to maintain.
Yeah, exactly. And I try not to focus on all of the pairs quite so much either. You know, I find it a little distracting to to focus on 20, 25 pairs. You know, I try to keep it to like 10 pairs. You know, like if I'm gonna trade the euro, it's gonna most likely be the euro Aussie or the euro yen or the euro Kiwi. You know, if I'm gonna trade the pound, which I haven't been trading the pound lately, it's gonna be kind of this. You know, I kind of try to stick to a smaller group of pairs because it can become overwhelming to focus on all the pairs, even though
Yeah.
correlating the pairs is kind of the key too. So it's like you said, it's a balance. It's always a balance
You have
between.
some favorite pairs that you've been trading the most?
Yeah, I trade the Euro US a lot more than I do anything else, and I I told you guys how I've been using like pending orders and limit orders a lot lately, and
Oh, didn't you say that you had a pending order right at the bottom
yeah,
for the
yeah.
euro?
Well, it was right at the bottom of the Euro US. The reason I had a pending order there was because on the weekly, the last time it made it down to that low was I think like 6 to 8 years ago, and it was a wicked support line. So
And it was a really clear pattern too.
yeah,
That
it
whole
was
thing.
very good, clear. So I use limit orders a lot. I don't really use stop orders quite so much, but limit orders is when the market has to actually come into the limits. You know, if it's like a buy limit, the market has to go down into the buy limit and then go, you know what I mean, go up from there.
I think
So
it was either right before or right after you said. I think it was Damien and I were talking about that, and we both. And then I said, "Man, we should have had an entry order right there." And then
yeah, yeah.
and
There's
then
a
we,
lot of times where I've said that in the past, and you know, my whole thing the last couple of years is trying to figure out how to make this work on my schedule. You know, because I'm not able to be in front of the computer a lot. So placing
that's a
limit,
part of it.
yeah, placing limit orders kind of takes part of that out equation out. You know, because like on the longer time frame, if I can tell that the trend is definitely not over. You know, like this week I did it on the Euro US. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. You know, there was a pullback, and I could tell on like the longer time frames the trend was definitely not over. So what I did was I waited for the wave A to complete, and then it starts a wave B. I put a limit order just below the wave A, like 1, 2 pips below the wave A, and then I went to work, and then I come back that day, and I think it was actually I went to bed is what happened, and I woke up the next morning, and it hit my limit orders, and I was already in profit because
Completed the A turn and put you into the trade.
yeah, well, it was the A was already complete. It was in like a wave B, so I put my limit orders just below the wave A. So that way, when it made a wave C, it came down just below the wave A. It got me into the trade, and then it took off in my direction. So it usually does work out pretty well for me. You know,
Wow.
I did that with the Euro Kiwi this week, and I did it with the Euro US. That's the only two trades that I entered last week, but they both ended up being profitable. So I guess it worked out pretty good, and they were both limit orders. Is how I got into them. When I first started selling on eBay, Amazon wasn't quite as big as it was, and with Amazon nowadays, like everybody wants free shipping, everybody wants free returns, everybody wants like Amazon just offers all these things that a small business like me on eBay just can't offer. Amazon can afford to have free shipping and free returns and free this and that and everything else, but as a small business, it's just really hard to offer all these free things and still make a profit. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so in a way, I I was Amazon kind of put me out of business in a way, because it just the profit margins were gone.
Oh
So
yeah.
so I just dived into the trading. That was right around the same time that I joined your group. So I just said, heck with it. I'm done with the eBay, and I'm just gonna see if I can make this trading thing work. And I don't know. And like I said, the trading has always interested me, but most people, when they talk about trading and they want to learn how to trade, it's like they people try to teach you how to how to invest in like a business. Like I said at the beginning, like how do I choose the right business to invest in and this and that. It's not really like day trading like what we do. You know, a lot of the books that I read when I was a little younger and was just starting to get into this were more about like how to choose the right company and like how to research and do all these things to choose the right stock. And it just
It's like
was,
Warren Buffett.
yeah, exactly. It's more like an investment thing instead of like a day trading type deal. Yeah, I mean, I've read a lot of books lately, and I feel like the books kind of helped me out a lot too. I had to give a little bit of a shout out to Mark Douglas. I think he's actually died not too long ago, but he
Really?
did the Despicable Trader and then Trading in the Zone. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if you've read those books, but he he doesn't really give like strategies in there. It's more like money management and how to scale in and scale out of your trades. And that's kind of what I'm doing with my limit orders. You know, I'm scaling in and then I scale out of everything. Like when I say a 1% position, that's usually three or four trades is 1%. You know, when I put three or four limit orders in, and then I scale out. You know, the first one will get out at like just a level that I choose. The second one, you know, I'll just kind of hold it until I see something that looks like it, like an end of trend or whatever. And then the third one, I just kind of leave open to see what will happen. You know, just kind of scale it out. So,
Huh.
so I do a lot of scaling. I scale in and I scale out. So,
I mean, that's good that you came across Mark Douglas because that is also a lot about the psychology, right?
yeah, exactly. He doesn't really deal with like how to trade. He's more like the psychology of it. So, so that really helped me a lot. And I actually, one of my favorite books is something that I found on your website that, you know, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, you know, stuff
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
You know, the never give up attitude, you know, is kind of what I got from Napoleon Hill. You know, no matter what, you just can't give up. You know, if you just work at it and work at it, you're most likely gonna eventually succeed. So,
I think if you get real specific about what your intention is and keep telling yourself, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, because he said to read it out every day,
yeah,
and
exactly.
it does something to the subconscious.
I have an app on my phone, like an affirmation app, and two or three times a day it'll ding. And what it does is you have to open the app and you read your affirmation 5 times, and then that's it. And then you have to do that like 3 times a day. And I've been doing that for about a year now, and I guess I've been pretty consistent for about a year now too. So maybe that was helpful
Wow.
too. I don't know. I tried to get
That's
into the NLP, but I don't really know if I'm doing it right. And you know, it's just not really sure about the NLP. It's like you said, I almost need to go to somebody and have them kind of train me or teach me how to do it. Maybe.
or you have to practice it with someone. It
Yeah,
is kind of hard
exactly.
to do it by yourself.
It is. Yeah, and you like doing it, and at the end, you're like, I don't even really know if I'm doing it right. But
I know.
I,
I'm at a disadvantage because there's nobody around here I can go see.
oh yeah,
When I was in the U.S., man, there was a whole bunch of therapists, hypnotherapists, NLP, and then now I don't have access to it, so I have to really force myself. I try to get my wife to role play.
yeah,
You be the practitioner and you do this on me.
yeah. It can be difficult by yourself to do something like that. There is a hypnotist in town, in the town that I live in. Maybe I should think about going to see him sometime and see what they could do for me.
the the quality and the type of background varies a lot.
Oh,
One
I bet.
person might mainly just do help people quit smoking, but some people may be really deep in their understanding and they can tell exactly what's going on with you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I feel like I kind of got the robot down. It's just for me, the battle now is the psychological issue. You know that we all kind of face as traders. You know, the fears that you face as a trader.
You're
That's
overcoming it though, so
I mean, I am definitely overcoming it, but I still find myself doing it sometimes. Being like, that looks really good, but like it'll be like an end of a clutch, and I'll be like, man, that looks really good, but I'm not really sure if I should get in it, and then I don't get in it because of fear, and then I get back the next day, and I'm like, man, that would have been an awesome trade because it did exactly what I thought it was going to do.
and
So
what
I
would it
still
be like, when it
that.
gets 100,000 or 500,000? Would you still just be the same?
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, I'm a little nervous about it, about casting out my annuity and everything, because that is my retirement. But, you know, like Napoleon Hill, I think even said in his book, you can't become successful without risk. You have to kind of put yourself out there. In order for me to build this $7,000 account to the point where 10% a month I could live on, because like $100,000 account, 10% a month would be $10,000 a month. You could take $5,000 a month and live on it, and then keep the other $5,000 in your account to keep growing your account.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
but like I said, I'm a little nervous about it because this whole psychological issue. For me, just going from a $1,200 account to a little under a $5,000 account when I added $3,000 at tax season became an issue for me. So it's a little nervous, but like you said, maybe I should go see like a hypnotist or something before I actually make the plunge and see what they could do for me.
I found that this personal development path is an ongoing thing.
It, it definitely is.
Some people have more issues than others, but a person is like, 3 years old or something like that. So their parents may have said something to them and they didn't
Yeah,
really intend it to be bad, but it goes in and it goes in and it goes in. And then, or whatever it is, like
uh, I think it's
feelings
definitely
of
something like that for me. I mean,
unworthiness. You feel like, no, I'm not really worthy of that. And then
yeah, exactly. I
it
mean, my
comes up.
parents were both, not really wealthy at all. They both just had normal jobs, and money was never like we were never poor or nothing, but I was definitely brought up to value your job and value the money that you earn from your job. And, trading kind of goes against a lot of those things that you're taught as a kid, you know, because you're not really working that hard for your money if you're doing it right. You could get on for like an hour or two a day and make more than you could make in a 10-hour workday. It just something about it just kind of messes up your mind. It's like, oh, this ain't right. I should be working a lot harder to make this money. You know what I mean?
You seem to be pretty straightforward, down to earth. I
Yeah,
think you'll
yeah, definitely.
get over any challenges you have.
Yeah, yeah. So this year I was pretty excited. Like I said, I made it up to about $7,600, and I had to pull out a little bit of money to pay my capital gain taxes this year. So I was like, what the heck? I'm gonna pull out a little extra. So I pulled out a little extra money, and me and my girlfriend we went to Rome. We spent a week
Whoa.
in Rome, and then we went to Naples for 4 days, and then we went to Barcelona after that, Barcelona, Spain, for a whole week. We were gone for over 2 weeks, and it was an extremely nice vacation. And it was the first time I've ever been to Europe or anything like that. So
Wow.
I'm already kind of taking advantage of my trading, I guess you could say.
That sounds
The trip,
awesome.
the
That
trip
must have
was
been a lot of
paid
fun.
for with my job, but the spending money was paid for with trading. The extra money I took out of my trading account paid for my food and taxi and all that type of stuff when I was on my trip. So it's kind of
Oh,
amazing
nice.
what happened.
That's probably a
Kind
good thing because then that kind of anchors it in because you can feel I'm eating this food because of my
of,
trading.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was pretty cool this year. And like I said, it was the first time I ever went to Europe, and I got to see the Colosseum and all kinds of extremely cool things that you see on TV. So that was
You
really,
were in
really,
Naples, you said?
yeah. Well, I went to Rome for 4 or 5 days, and I went to Naples for 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And then Barcelona too for 6 or 7 days in Barcelona.
Are
So
you Italian?
no, not at all. I'm actually my grandfather is like a full-blown Englishman, you know.
Oh,
So, and my on my mother's side, it's extremely Canadian. So I'm like a Canadian English, you know, British Canadian. Yeah, this next year is going to be kind of a test for me. If I could continue my 10-12% a month, you know, I'm gonna next winter I'm gonna cash out my annuity, and you know I get laid off in December, so I have 2 or 3 months to make or break it. And
wow.
if I can make it, then that's it. I'm gonna become a full-time trader. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes.
Wow.
But
That's
like I
that's a
said, in order
pretty
to make it happen, you have to have a decent amount of money in your account. You can't just have like $10,000 in your account and think that you can, you know, support yourself from it. You have to have like 100,000 or something like that in there to support yourself.
yeah. But yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's a pretty ambitious goal. It's like one more year, you said?
I'm hoping another year. I don't know. We'll see. My when I was 30, I made a goal for myself to either work to be self-employed by 35, and I'm 34 now, so I'm cutting it pretty close. But at that point, I was doing, you know, $170,000 worth of sales a year on eBay too. So I was kind of thinking between eBay and my trading, you know, between the two of them, something was going to work. Like I said, you know, a lot of my books say, you know, in order to succeed, you have to take a big risk sometimes, and I'm willing to do it. And I mean, like I said, even people I work with, this guy I work with, he's a little bit of an older gentleman, and he's kind of close to retirement himself. And he talks about how his funds manager makes him 10-15% a year, you know. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like with my results, it'd be pretty easy to do that for somebody else, you know.
Yeah.
10-15% a year is like kind of nothing compared to what people in your group can make.
Yeah, you could get that per month.
Yeah, exactly. So
They'd be thrilled.
yeah, I would say so.
You're getting to the point where, man, you really got it down and all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
work is paid off.
yeah. I mean, determination is the biggest part. I feel like you got to be determined, and you don't give up on it. You know, I've had some like when I had that $4,500, and then next thing I know, I went on a losing spree and took it down to 3,000. You know, it would have been pretty easy to say, "Screw this, I'm giving up." You know, but you just
Yeah.
can't give up. If it's something you want to do, you just got to stick with it.
Well, you've been doing it for 4 years, and then
Yeah,
mostly the last 1 year has really proven things for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been about a year since I've been consistent. I mean, not every month is 10 to 12%. You know, some months I only make 8 or 6% or something, but even 8 or 6% is better than what a lot of funds managers are doing. So, you know, I feel like
Yeah.
it's pretty.
8 or 6% in a month. That was one of your
Yeah,
bad months.
yeah. Like that's a bad month to me. Is like 6 to 8%. You know, so
No
and you know
losing months.
in the past year at least. You know, so
You didn't have any negative months.
um, I think there was one month in there where it was like break even or maybe like a little bit of a loss, but for the most part, you know, it's pretty much positive every month, at least a little bit positive. You know, some months better than others, but for the most part, it's six. Anywhere from like a bad month is like 6%, and a good month I've made up to. There was one month in February when I was in your group every day. You know, I was getting up in the morning doing London, and I was in your group for London and New York, and I was doing Asia because I live in the U.S. and I made over 20% in February, so that was pretty good.
In February?
Yeah, that was probably one of my best months ever in February. And I heard Ray also the interview you did with him. He was also saying that February was one of his best months ever too. So you know, he said he made really
Yeah.
good money that month too. So maybe it was just a good month for us. I don't
A
know.
lot of movement in the
Yeah, there was a
market.
lot of movement. Yeah. So
But
like
yes.
it's fun. It's cool. And it's kind of exciting, you know, to think that maybe you could support yourself off it. So
And you got the 1% rule from Mark Douglas?
Well, no. I mean, the 1% rule kind of came from you guys too, but I mean, money management is a big part for me. Money management is kind of a big part of trading. You have to manage your money, and you can't, like I said, you can't let your losses run, out of control like I've done in the past, and for me, money management's kind of the big thing. If you only risk 1% on a pack of orders, then you're not going to blow up your account. You're not going to just wipe out your account just risking 1%. And maybe that's the reason why I have never really wiped out an account. Like I said, a lot of people wipe out 2 or 3 accounts before they start to get it. And the 1% rule has kind of been my thing for a long time, really. And maybe that's the reason why I never really blew out an account, because even if I lose 20 trades in a row or something, it's not going to wipe my account out, which never happens anyways. But
Yeah, sounds like, I mean, you still have a very consistent increase, 100% in 1 year. That's a lot. So
yeah,
I would guess your winning trades versus your losing trades is a pretty high percentage of wins.
yeah, exactly. And like I said, I always trade clarity. And if you stick to what's clear, you most of the time, if you only trade what's clear, you don't really have that many losing trades too often, you know. And if it is a losing trade, it's a lot of the times my 1% rule doesn't even get hit. I can tell right away if it's not going to do what I think it's going to do, and I'll get out with like a 20 pip loss or something. It's not even 1%. So nowadays, a lot of my trades that are losers are not even that big. They're just little losers. Most of my trades lately have been limit orders, just letting the market come in and, grab my orders and go. If you look at a chart, one thing I noticed, I don't know where I really learned this from. I think it was one of my books that I read in the past, but they call it something called like stop hunting or auction theory. Are you familiar with either of those?
I've heard stop
Yeah.
hunting.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, let's say the market makes a high, like an A or whatever, and most of the time, the C will turn right above the A. A lot of people call it auction theory or stop hunting. The market is hunting people's stops, is what people call it. So that's kind of where I got, placing my limits. You place your limit orders where people think that the market's hunting their stops, you know what I mean? Like at the C wave. And if you're wrong, I have a big enough stop, so it's not going to affect me too much. And if I'm right, then I just let it go. Auction theory is kind of the same thing as stop hunting. They run price above the previous high or below the previous low. They call that the auction area, I guess you could say. And that's where people are like trying to people that don't really trade Elliott wave, they just kind of trade. They don't really know where the market's going. They place their limit orders and stuff in places like that.
Yeah, they just go, I think it's going down. And so,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have been using these limit orders. Like I said, I gotta kind of praise them. They kind of help me out a lot because with my schedule, because I'm able to trade without being there to actually trade. Some
yeah.
days, like I said, you can really tell, through the roadmap and with the stuff that you teach, that a trend's not over, on the long time frame. And if the trend's not over, then just put in an order, just get in. What the hell, just get in. I don't really have to see the end of the correction. I know it's going to be a correction. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I don't really need the confirmation of seeing an end of a correction. I just get in.
Don't
And
overcomplicate it.
yeah, exactly. I try not to overcomplicate anything really, but a lot of the times, I don't wait for the confirmation of an end of a correction. I'll just get on my computer and I'll be like, that looks like it could end a correction today, so I just get in. You know, and if it ends the correction, then good. If it doesn't, then it's a small loss, and it's not really that big of a deal.
So you don't have to have a really tight stop loss when you do that, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I don't use. That was my biggest problem back when I first started. was my stop losses were way too tight. You know, Damien talks about it and Paul talks about it, and a lot of the times we don't pinpoint the exact end of a correction, but we know that it's coming shortly. You know, maybe it has like a fifth wave of C to make, and you know, so you got to give the market some room. You can't put your stop loss too tight. You know, that was one of my biggest problems when I first started.
You were in that trade for a long time after that.
Yeah, I stayed in for a week and a half or so. I got out way before because the euro lately has been pretty impulsive. It really hasn't been the last couple turns. It didn't really make much of a wave five. It just kind of made like a big impulsive move and then it turned. It's been quite fun, and you know, your course and your training videos is just invaluable, you know, and a lot of people I see come on here and they just don't give it the chance that you really need to. You know, you can't expect to get rich out of this fast. You know, it's not going to happen. And one thing Napoleon Hill says in his book, which I mentioned to you in an email recently, was you got to have like a mastermind group. You know, the more people that you communicate with that are in the field that you're in and that are doing what you're doing, the better off you are, you know. And you know, you and Damien and Paul and Ray and you know, all them people I've learned from, and you know, and we all teach each other, and you know, and we learn from each other, and it's just invaluable, you know, the group that you provide. And like all the videos, you know, you must have a lot of hours in some of the videos that you've made in the past, you know. You have a lot of videos on your website, and I bet I've watched them all probably more than once. You know, and
That's a lot.
yeah, you have a lot of videos on your website, and some of them are really old, you know, some of them are 10, 12 years old, but, you know, they still apply, you know, nothing's really changed. If you're looking for an end of a trend between the daily and the weekly or something like that, and you know the trend's not over, then just go to the 4-hour time frame and put some limit orders in, and, you know, as long as you're in the right direction, usually it works out decently.
Oh, yeah. So like you're looking for the end of a trend, maybe it's getting close on the daily or the weekly.
Yeah.
You just put a limit order below the current price, a certain amount. You know, if it goes that far down, it's triggered.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it gets triggered, and you know, as long as the trend's not over on the longer time frame, it pretty much always works out one way or the other, as long as your stop loss isn't too tight. You know, you got to be willing. One things I learned from that Mark Douglas is you got to be willing to take some losses. You got to be willing to go negative. You know, you got to be comfortable with going negative. You know, you can't get all anxious every time you get in a trade and then it goes negative on you. You can't get like all anxious and just jump out of the trade. You know, you got to just be comfortable with your trade and the amount of money you're risking, and you know, that's kind of a big part of it too. You know, if you're on the 4-hour chart and you get in and you really only need like you know, the last swing is like 50 pips away, but you put like 100 pip stop loss, you know, just to give the market some room, you know, just, you got to be comfortable. Almost every trade I get in with limit orders goes negative at first, you know. And if you don't let the market just do what the market's going to do, then you're not going to make any money, you know. If you're not comfortable with being negative, you know, once in a while, you got to be comfortable with the amount of money that you're risking. You know, that's a big part of it. Sometimes I lose focus and I start looking at something else, like that GAN trading thing. You know, recently over the winter, you know, there was a few of you guys talking about GAN and stuff like that, and so I started doing some research about GAN, and you know what, all it did was distract me from what I should have been doing. You know, and that GAN
really
trading,
need it.
yeah, I don't really need it, and that GAN trading is just so complicated. I mean, it's so much to it. You know, it just has to do with astrology and just all these other things that I don't really need to do. You know, what we do works, so why fix it?
Yeah, just keep things simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to get distracted when it comes to trading. There's so many things out there that can distract you. You know, they with all these promises of getting rich and all these other things. It's just, you got to stay focused on what works.